All right, listen up. Welcome to This Explainer. I am your host, and for this session, I need you to think of me as your lead detective. We are opening a highly classified, heavily guarded case file today. It's one that plagues Cambridge IGCSE, O-level, AS, and A-level cohorts year after year without fail. Around the precinct, we call it the missing marks mystery. I want you to picture the scene. It's exam day. The clock is ticking down. You open your Math 9709 paper, you confidently flip over to the mechanics section, and there it is, a question on energy, work, and power. Now, on the surface, it looks innocent enough. It looks like standard, run-of-the-mill physical evidence. But make absolutely no mistake. This is exactly the spot where candidates routinely bleed easy points. They leave mathematical fingerprints all over the scene, they completely misinterpret the examiner's core parameters, and they walk right into a massive forensic trap. But not us, not today. Today, we are treating these past papers like intricate crime scenes full of hidden forensic clues. We are going to lock down exactly how to secure every single mark on the board, so by the time you sit down in that exam hall, you are practically untouchable.
Look closely at this quote we pulled directly from a senior examiner's dossier. It is a stark warning, but it's also a promise. It says, most students lose easy marks on energy, work, and power, but after this, you won't be one of them. The stakes here literally could not be higher. You see, in our line of work, losing an easy mark is like dropping a piece of vital case-closing physical evidence down a storm drain. It ruins the entire case resolution score. You can't get to that 100% mark potential if you're fumbling the basics. So to solve this, I'm bringing you straight into the interactive evidence room. We're going to use the official principal examiner reports as our rap sheet to uncover exactly what the grading judges are looking for when they cross-examine your paperwork. We are going to deconstruct their traps, we're going to decode the command words, and we're going to build a bulletproof suspect profile, which in your case is a perfectly structured top-band model response.
Okay, here is your investigation briefing docket for the day. First, we tackle the missing marks mystery. Second, the core principles of power. Third, we establish our procedural framework. Fourth, we review critical examiner warnings. And finally, we are closing the case file. Let's get moving.
Section 1. The missing marks mystery. Let's investigate exactly why these grades are dropping. In my years of investigating these massive grade drops, I've noticed that candidates usually fall into two distinct profiles. Let's call them Agent Alex and Agent Sam. Now, Agent Alex is a procedural gatherer. Alex collects vast mountains of physical evidence, raw facts, textbook definitions, formula dumps, but totally fails to build a coherent case motive. Alex lacks high-level analysis. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have Agent Sam. Sam is a fast-acting detective who jumps to immediate conclusions, skipping vital forensic confirmation steps entirely. Sam completely misses the strict constraints of the examiner's command words. And you know what? Both agents fail. Why? Because they don't handle the foundational evidence properly. Look at these two simple equations on the board. They act as the ultimate forensic link. Power equals work divided by time, and power equals force multiplied by velocity. This is our DNA evidence, guys. But here's the catch. You can't just memorize it. You have to encode it conceptually. Think of work as the motive. It's the actual energy transferred. Think of time as the opportunity. If a car's engine does a massive amount of work in a tiny split-second fraction of time, its power output is absolutely lethal. But that second equation, P equals FV, that is where the real gritty detective work happens. Think of it like this. Force is the weapon, velocity is the getaway car. Because work equals force times distance, right? So if you substitute that into the first equation, you get force times distance over time. And since distance over time is just velocity, boom, you arrive at P equals FV. The grading judges test whether you can bridge those two concepts seamlessly. If you treat them as separate, unrelated facts like Agent Alex does, your case will completely fall apart on the stand.
Section 2. Core Principles of Power. Welcome to the law of the exam.
You need to understand that the Cambridge Assessment Framework operates on three very distinct cognitive domains. This is how they sort the rookies from the veterans. First floor, knowledge and understanding. This is strictly Agent Alex's territory, knowing the formula, regurgitating the definition. But listen to me, that's just the ground floor. It barely gets you in the building. Second floor, application to unfamiliar contexts. This is where you take your forensic kit to a brand new crime scene. Maybe it's a cyclist pedaling desperately up a steep hill against a harsh headwind, or maybe it's an industrial pump raising water from a deep well. You must apply the rules dynamically to whatever scene they give you. Third floor, the penthouse. Analysis. This is the top tier. The syllabus explicitly states that top performers must show connected conceptual understanding. You can't just plug numbers blindly into P equals FV, you have to analyze what happens to the velocity when the driving force changes but the engine's power remains constant. If you don't connect those dots for the judge, the examiner drops your grade straight into the lower bands without a second thought.
So the absolutely crucial point we need to make is captured right here. Prioritize analytical depth over superficial breadth. What does superficial breadth look like in the field? It looks like a panicked student writing down every single physics equation they can possibly remember in the margins of the paper, hoping the examiner will take pity and award a stray point. Spoiler alert, they won't. Academic benchmarks require logical, structured reasoning. The judge in this case does not care that you know 10 different unrelated equations if you can't apply the single correct one with analytical depth. You need to prove motive, means, and opportunity mathematically. You must show how the engine's power dynamically counteracts the resistive forces to maintain a constant velocity. You have to tell the story with your numbers. That, my friends, is analytical depth.
Section 3. The procedural framework. Let's build our step-by-step methodology. Okay, to avoid making the fatal mistakes of Agent Alex and Agent Sam, I am going to walk you through the ultimate 5-step procedural protocol. This is how you tackle complex past paper problems. Step 1, deconstruct the question. We call this the 3-step question scan. This is your perimeter sweep. You are scanning for command words. Does it say calculate, show that, or evaluate? Those words dictate your entire strategy. Step 2, extract relevant data. Pull the mass, the incline angle, the resistive friction force, and the power output out of the text block and mentally pin them to your evidence board. Step 3, select the analytical framework. Ask yourself, are we using the work energy principle here, or are we using Newton's second law combined with P equals FV? Step 4, execute with clear notation. This means absolutely no messy scribbling in the margins. You write out your math as if you were presenting a formal legal brief to the Supreme Court. Step 5, present with correct terminology. Do not call it speed if the physical context demands velocity in a specific vector direction. Following this exact protocol secures what we call method marks, and trust me, method marks are your absolute best friend in this investigation. Building a mathematical argument in unfamiliar contexts relies heavily on your critical data interpretation skills. You have to be able to scan texts and tables like a polygraph machine. I call this the visual clue scan. When they hand you a complex source data chart or a dense case study, you've got to extract the single highest yielding core trend before the clock runs out. You must interpret mathematical relationships on the fly. For instance, if power is constant and velocity increases, force must decrease. Recognizing that inverse relationship instantly, that is exactly what elevates you from a rookie to a lead detective.
Section 4. Critical Examiner Warnings. It's time for the cross-examination.
I have pulled the official principal examiner reports, and we are going to audit previous mistakes right now. This brilliantly illustrates the biggest trap in the whole syllabus, the difference between a weak descriptive statement and a bulletproof evaluative argument. Let's do a peer interrogation debate. Imagine Agent Alex sitting across the evidence table, trying to stitch together a response. Alex writes, "The car has 50 kilowatts of power and is moving against friction, so I use the formula to find velocity. Now you tell me, is that going to hold up in court? Absolutely not. That is a descriptive statement. It's vague, it's shallow fluff. It tells the examiner nothing about the underlying mechanics." Then Agent Sam chimes in. Just write 50,000 equals F times V and circle the answer. Also wrong. Sam is jumping to conclusions without anchoring the logic. Case file freeze. Before I reveal this top-band paragraph structure to help you clear your upcoming Cambridge sessions, make sure your intelligence feed is secure. Take a second right now to subscribe to ACE the Exams at the handle @ACExams and turn on all notifications so you never miss our weekly forensic exam updates, whether you are cracking cases at IGCSE, O-levels, AS, or A-levels. Okay, back to the interrogation room. I step in and tell Alex and Sam they need the Peel matrix. Point, evidence, explanation, link. We rewrite it out loud, line by line. Listen to this true evaluative argument. Given the constant power of 50 kilowatts, the maximum velocity is evaluated by equating the engine's driving force to the 500 Newton resistive force, utilizing P equals FV to yield a maximum velocity of 100 meters per second, assuming zero acceleration. Boom, that is flawless. Higher order objectives demand that exact level of precise evaluative recommendation. Now, sometimes the exam throws a curveball and requires you to compare two different approaches. Say, comparing the work done lifting a mass vertically versus pulling that same mass up a smooth incline.
When this happens, you must follow these strict comparative analysis rules. You cannot just list the two numerical outcomes and walk away. That's a rookie mistake. You must identify both similarities and differences. You've got to use comparative connectives like whereas, conversely, or in contrast. You have to support your claims with hard, undeniable mathematical evidence from your calculations. And finally, draw conclusions on their relative importance. If the work done is exactly the same in both scenarios, because energy is conserved, you state that explicitly. Don't make the examiner guess. That is how you anchor your data to your analysis flawlessly and leave absolutely zero room for doubt.
Let's formally document the top 3 fatal errors that consistently destroy mark integrity in the interactive viewer evidence room. Challenge yourselves. Identify the counterfeit answer based on these warnings. Warning number 1. Answers are too vague. As we just saw with Agent Alex, examiners hate generalizations. If you say force changes, that's a counterfeit answer. They want specific details. Does it increase or decrease? What are the specific units? Where are the numerical proofs? Warning number 2. Failure to check format and presentation conventions. This means disorganized working, skipping critical lines of logic, or not providing proper headings and vector directions. If the examiner has to hunt for your answer like a needle in a haystack, they will simply cross it out and mark it wrong. Warning number 3. Answers are not specific to the given context. If the crime scene involves a cyclist pedaling up a hill, and your concluding sentence talks abstractly about a particle moving along a plane, you have failed to link your math back to the scene of the crime. Context is everything.
Listen, if you take away absolutely nothing else from this case file, let it be this examiner alert right here. Show you're working. Let me say it again for the detectives in the back. Show you're working. Method marks can and will save you. In the Cambridge grading system, there is a brilliant built-in safety net. Let's say you're managing your clock budget allocation, rushing a bit, and you make a tiny careless arithmetic error in step 2 of our procedural framework. Because of that, your final suspect, your final numerical answer is wrong. But if you laid out a perfectly documented method process, if your analytical framework is visibly correct on the page, the examiner will still award you method marks. You can literally salvage up to 80% of the grade for that specific question just by keeping your paperwork impeccable. Never hide your reasoning.
Section 5. Closing the case file. It is time for the verdict.
We have examined the physical evidence, we've survived the cross-examination, and Agent Alex and Agent Sam finally compiled a 100% case resolution text block. To ensure you do the same moving forward, here is your final evidence audit. These are your 3 universal rules. First, encode P equals W over T and P equals FV conceptually. They are not just random letters on a formula sheet, they are the physical rules governing your universe. Second, use the 5-step extraction and execution framework. Decode the question with your 3-step scan, manage your clock budget, and apply the exact analytical matrix required. Third, document all your methods, show absolutely every step of your working, and avoid vague, descriptive fluff. Ensure your answer perfectly fits the specific context of the question. Follow these rules and you will capture every single available mark. I leave you with this final provocation before we sign off. Will your next exam answer be a shallow descriptive statement, or will it be a bulletproof evaluative argument? The choice is entirely up to you. You now have the ultimate investigative framework. Now you just need to apply it. Make sure you subscribe to Ace the Exams at the handle @AceExams, click that notification bell for our weekly grade masterclasses, and drop a comment below sharing exactly which Cambridge subject and level, IGCS, O, AS, or A level, you are preparing to conquer next. This is your lead detective, officially closing the case file. Stay sharp out there.